Hey guys, this is Melanie Hawk from Why Not Me Academy. Today on the show, we have Casie Shimansky. Now, I really enjoyed talking with Casie about how since 2004, when her sister, who was just 18 years old, passed away due to unknown causes, it flipped a switch within her that caused her to start focusing on how she could live out loud. And we talk about that and what that means to her in this episode. We also talk about her passion for curing children's cancer and how she goes about raising funds and raising awareness about how possible and real raising money for curing children's cancer really is. Now, as part of that, she's been involved with the St. Baldricks Foundation as a lead photographer, as a team captain, and a 3-time Shavee. Now, if you're wondering what a 3-time Shavee is, you could probably figure it out. But yes, she has gone bald and shaved her head 3 times to help raise awareness about raising funds for curing children's cancer. So if you're interested in learning more about how you can live out loud, enjoy this episode. Hey guys, welcome to Why Not Me Academy. This is Melanie Hawk, and we are so excited to have Casie on with us today, something that's super special to my heart. So thank you so much, Casie, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So today, Casie is going to talk about something that, for my listeners who know our backstory, that I have 5 kids, and when number 4 was 7 weeks old, number 3, I don't always call them by numbers, but for the ease of the conversation, number 3 was diagnosed with brain cancer, and what a wild ride it was. We're so grateful that he's been clean for more than 5 years, and he's doing awesome, but we consider it a blessing every single day. And so when I heard about Casie's story, I wanted to have her on the podcast to talk more about why not me to help fight kids' cancer is basically what a big part of what she does. So Casie, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got so passionate about this topic.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for having me. And I'm so happy to hear that number 3 is doing well. So I originally got started with the St. Baldricks Foundation and volunteering and fundraising for children's cancer research 10 years ago, just as a photographer. I had someone who knew someone on Facebook that knew me, connected me to the organization and one of the leaders of a local event because they needed a photographer. And at the time, that's what I was doing. So I just went out thinking it would be any other day, any other event, a couple hours, couple photos, and we'd be done.
Yeah.
And that day just changed my life. It really, showed me the need for these kids and the lack of research we have as it is. And so that really shifted, and almost immediately it was just like, I can help, I can do this. I almost went home bald that day because they do have head shaving events. And after, I was just like, I can't go home by myself bald. Like everyone in my life would be like, what happened? You went to photograph an event and you came home bald. But it was something that, sat with me and kept, just kind of marinating in my mind of ways that we could help. I had previously lost a younger sister to unknown causes. And so that sort of fueled the wanting to help and wanting to be there, wanting to change the course for these kids and their families. And certainly after about a year, it was kind of game on, and we started a team, we started fundraising, and I dedicated myself to going bald after I got married, which took another 5 years, but
Really? After you got married, how does he feel about this?
He is completely on board. Sean and I have been friends for a long time now, going on 15 years.
Wow.
So
okay.
He wasn't, this wasn't a surprise to him, right? When I said, I promised to go bald, he was like, that's amazing. This was before he and I were even dating, before the team even was created. He just kind of had heard that I'd gone to this event and been so inspired by it. And from the second the words left my mouth, he was on board, said I would rock that someday. I had even said, like, oh, I'm not doing it until I get married, thinking like, oh, I'm going to scare this guy off with the M word. he was again completely on board. So he and my dad were the first two to sign up to go bald with us when we started the team in 2013, and kind of carried the torch until he and I got engaged in 2017, and then I went bald 2 days after we got married in 2018. I had
Okay.
19 inches of very long purple hair at the time.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, less than 48 hours later, it was gone.
Did I see in your wedding picture? Did I see wedding pictures with short hair there? Oh no.
So yes, so
I'm so
so
confused.
we basically, the day after we went bald, we got back into our wedding attire
So
and
cool.
did photos completely bald. So yeah, we have wedding photos with with me with long hair,
Yeah.
and then a couple days later, all completely bald in my wedding gown and his.
Wow. That is awesome. Okay, so well, let's stay on that for just a second. Let's talk about like, okay, so you go bald. Like some people might be like, okay, but really, like, what's the point? What would you say is the point?
It's an awareness factor. It's a big awareness factor, especially for women who go bald. Not that men going bald isn't awesome, because it is, and actually they're the hardest for me to convince to go bald. Surprisingly, I've had more
Really?
success having women join us on the team and shaving off long hair than bald men. But it's not a shock to see a man without hair, right?
Yeah.
For women, even with short hair, people kind of do a double take, and it's also why I do the funky colors, and not one because I love it and it's fun and it's different.
Right.
I feel weird with my natural hair color now, because purple is pretty natural for me. And then as I get into fundraising season, it starts shifting and going into all sorts of colors. But all of those things are the awareness factor, and just starting the conversation of, if my hair's purple and someone says, "Hey, I love that color," and I say, "Well, don't get used to it, because I shave every March and I go bald for this." And it's just that open door to telling people why this isn't so important. Many people think it's rare, right? Children's cancer, it's rare. It's really not.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's just that conversation piece. It's awareness, and it's solidarity, right? It's showing these kids that bald is brave, it's beautiful, and it's, unfortunately they don't get a choice. We get the choice to do this, but it's something that I take a lot of pride in, that we get to show them, it is beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Now you talked about it being in March, and that kind of ties into you work with St. Baldricks,
Yes.
right? Kind of the March theme, I guess. And so why children's research? Why St. Baldricks?
I really say that they found me. I knew I always wanted to give back, and it was something that, since my sister had passed, I had been searching, and I had been going through a couple different organizations and helping out here and there. And when I got to that event, it just embraced me. I embraced it.
Yeah.
We say there's no day like Shave Day, and we say that you have to go to an event to see and feel like what it is. There's bagpipes playing, and there's a first responder presence where firefighters and police officers kind of have that brotherhood love, and kind of challenge each other to raise more funds. And you just see a community come together and rally for these kids. It's incredible. You hear a lot of times, when I lost my sister, I heard a lot of times, "Oh, I could never do that. I could never, I could never live without my sibling." I didn't get a choice,
Yeah.
wouldn't have chosen this way. And it's those things, when you don't get a choice, you see how strong you can be, and how people rally around you.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of that in this as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just an incredible sense of community that comes together.
So cool. And we're not done yet, but I just want to stop here because you're right. Everybody should see this and see, because even like you have kids in remission that are there, or you have other kids that are there. Like it's just a special feeling. I am a religious person, but um, one of the most spiritual places I've ever been in my life was the Ronald McDonald house, where you just had little
Mhm.
heroes walking the hall. And when we lived there, it was just, oh my gosh, I cry every single time I talk about what a beautiful place it was. And at
Mhm.
the shave events, it has like a portion of that, but a portion of fun and celebration, which I love. So how do people like find, hey, where's a shave event? Like that's not something usually people Google very often. So how do we find these events?
Yes. So St. Baldrick's events are global. They're around the world. Chances are, if you look them up, and you can go to their site and they show you where their shaves are, you'll find one pretty local to you, and you can join different teams or start your own team. Currently, they're doing virtual shaves as well because a lot of the events have been put on hold with everything going on. So there's multiple ways you can participate. You also don't have to shave. I think a lot of people hear, oh, go bald, and they put on the brakes. They're like, oh, no, no, no.
Yeah.
They see me coming and they're like, nope, nope, I'm keeping my hair. I'm not doing it. Here's $5, go
I like
away.
it. I like it.
But you can do a bake sale, you can do photography session, like whatever your talent is and your passion is, you can put that to use for raising funds and awareness for these kids and research for them.
Yeah.
So that's all on the stbaldricks.org site, and you can really find out how to participate and find a way that fits for you too, right? It doesn't have to be going bald. That's just one way.
Yeah. Awesome. And I love that you talked about those baby steps. Like, why not me to get involved in fighting kids' cancer? There are so many different ways and so many different places that you can do those fundraisers. And I love getting my kids involved in those fundraisers also to raise awareness that they have already seen with their brother, but also to spread that awareness to their friends and but also to pay tribute to that time in our lives. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Now you have a hashtag that you use a lot, Live Out Loud, and tell us about how you turned your grief into the hashtag Live Out Loud and what that means to you.
So Live Out Loud to me started just in the wake of my sister's passing. That was obviously a very difficult time and a very blurry time, and there were some very dark times in that. And I think I like telling people about that because I think they see my positive side and my optimism, and I'm always finding that silver lining and pulling it out.
Yeah,
Um, and I think people think that's easy. It's not. It's a decision I make every single day. And she's been gone for 16 years, so that's a lot of days. But in that dark patch was this morning where I woke up and I said, I either need to get up and start moving and start doing and not just talking about things, but actually doing things.
yeah,
It's good to take pause and reflect and all that kind of stuff, and I still do that, but you have to take action. That's something we kind of preach with St. Baldrick's, is that the awareness. I talk about the numbers of pediatric cancer nonstop. It's an issue.
yeah,
Your $5 is the action of helping these kids and finding the clinical trials and the life-saving treatments for them. So Live Out Loud really came in that moment, right? I woke up and I said, I'm going to have to live out loud. I'm going to have to, at first do it for her. And then I started doing it for me. And for these kids and their families, so that they don't have to go through this. And so I think a lot of people hear it too and think, oh, it's skydiving and it's summiting Mount Everest and these big things. And it's really not. It's little things. It's waking up and getting dressed and doing your hair if that's what that day is.
yeah,
And it's just taking those little steps, because that all adds up to a journey, right?
yeah.
That gets you from point A to point B. So that's what Live Out Loud is to me, and that's our team name, in memory of Kellie, and that's just sort of become our mantra
Oh, I
since.
love that. I love that. And you and I have a common friend, Jess Ekstrom, who also has Headbands of Hope, and in looking for just little ways to get involved in fighting cancer. I love that Jess has the headbands for cancer survivors or other survivors that have gone bald, and I think that's a sweet, creative way as well.
Yeah.
So let's kind of change a little bit here. Well, actually, when you were talking, so I usually in the interviews I let you talk, but you've got such a topic that's so dear to me. When my son was first diagnosed, I remember the first day his oncologist said, if this would have happened 5 years ago, your son would have a 10% chance of living. Because of today, we've learned so much in the last 5 to 10 years. We have about almost a 60% chance, he said.
Mhm.
And I was like, yes. And now it's been another 5 years. So now, we had the 5 years before, and now we're 5 years afterwards. And the last the last check-in we went into, they were like, we have enough research now that you're good. Like, he's good. Like, he's normal. Like, go live with him. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so grateful for the research. And we did proton technology, which is different than regular radiation. It's not photon. It's, as you would probably know, but proton wasn't around 10 years ago before we started. It was very new, very cutting edge. And even when we wanted to do it, we had to move down to Florida to get it done because there weren't enough places in the United States. There were only 2 places in the whole United States that would take children to do proton. And now, there's one at the Utah Cancer Institute. There's one at St. Jude's. They're building one at Duke. So now there's like all over the world. But when we went down, it was like such cutting edge that people were there from all over the world to bring their kids to this place. And I'm so grateful for the research and how fast, like every $5 really does make a difference to further the advance, so that now, like, without that, I would be had this huge
you're
hope.
giving me chills, because that's exactly, this is what I tell people. And I think they, again, think it's so far removed from their bubble, and it's really not.
Yeah.
And I've gotten, over the course of these 10 years, to know families and these kids, and they've become part of my extended family. And so I see it. It's not just one day. It's not just 1 week or 1 month for us. It's every single day. I see when these kids are going in for their checkups, and, the parents are posting about it, and, send prayers or good thoughts, and, all these things are happening throughout the year. And when you look back 5 and 10 years, and you see the massive jumps because of this technology and the new research and the science behind it, like, I'm learning that I was never very good at science or math.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, now it's like I'm doing numbers, and I'm trying to show people, like, $5 does add up. Like, you talk about, I think we take that for granted, like, oh, every dollar counts, but it really does. Like, most of my donations have been $25 and under, and I've gone on to raise over $55,000 over the years, with just $5 at, here and there. And it's making a huge change. St. Baldricks is one of the largest private funders of children's cancer research, and they're helping in our backyard. They're also helping all over the globe. So it's really a community effort. But when you see the huge change in these past few years, and what that means for these kids, you're giving them their lives,
Yeah. The idea that, like, curing cancer and making huge strides with cancer is, like, real and, like, possible. I guess that was the biggest thing to me, is like, it had always, like, I had relatives pass away of cancer, and I just kind of assumed, like, cancer is always going to be here. It's just like a sad thing that happens in life. But once you get your head around the fact that, no, there is science that's happening every day to get those numbers from 10%. Like, at the beginning, we were like, we could have been at a 10% up to they're like, yeah, you're like 95% good. Like, you're good. You might have a secondary tumor, but that's like a whole different thing. But like, to make that jump in 10 years because of cutting edge research, because of donations like this, which is awesome. Awesome. Now, you are like an amazing fundraiser. So let's talk about that. How, if somebody's like, I've always wanted to put on a fundraiser, or I've always wanted to do fundraising, how do I get into that? Like, why not me to do this? Well, how do you actually get started in being a great fundraiser? Or we have PTA parents that are like, I hate fundraising. Like, how have you made, like, basically a career out of fundraising?
It's incredible, because I hate asking people for money. But it's not for me, right? It's for these kids. It's for their families. It's for this incredible research that I believe in so deeply. So it is passion based. It is rooted deeply in my soul, and people know about this. So for 10 years, I've been coming at them on Facebook and Instagram and wherever I can talk to them and say, who's got $5? I do something called Kit Coffee for Kids Cancer, which people always freak out every year. They think I'm telling them not to drink coffee. So I have to tell them, drink your coffee. It's just to get you to see that $5 cup of coffee that you might treat yourself to on a Friday going into work, that could be a huge thing for kids cancer. So skip the coffee, or get the free coffee at work, or go ahead and get your $5 cup of coffee, but also give me $5 because I now know you have $5 for coffee. I want $5 for this thing, And it's just starting small. My very first year of fundraising was again in 2013, and I raised $600. And I thought that was wow, I did this thing, that's $600 that's going on to clinical trials. And for every $1,000 raised, that helps a child go through a potentially life-saving clinical trial. So again, even all these numbers kind of add up.
Yeah.
And so from taking that to $600, and then the in-between years, I'd go between 1,000 and 2,500, kind of bouncing around, to the year my first year shaving, the year that we got married, I raised almost $27,000. And
Oh my gosh.
I had no idea that was possible. I obviously knew it was possible because I had seen other people doing it, and I wound up becoming one of the global top fundraisers that year, in the top 30 for St. Baldricks.
Wow.
And it was just really, again, most of those donations weren't big donations.
Yeah.
I think people see those big numbers and they're like, you had a business swoop in with 10,000, and I wish, because that would make my work a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
But again, it was just a majority of those donations were $100 and under.
Yeah.
It was like 91% when I did the numbers and the math.
Wow.
And it's really just, going to your friends and your family. And I would even tell people, like, listen, I get it. If times are tough and you can't do the $5, just keep sharing my posts. Just keep talking to your community about this, because it gets people to see. The more they see it, it's still happening, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just starting off small. It's being passionate about something too. I often tell people to not do this, because it's really not a good tip, but I don't say no, or I don't take no for an answer, so I'll just keep chipping away at it. It's a lot of hard work. I probably put over 200 hours every year into our fundraising. But it's really just, who else can I get in front of and tell them who else could give me $5?
Yeah.
And using email and all these channels to help. And it probably also helps that I'm in social, and I'm in blogging and communications and these things, that definitely helps.
Yeah.
But going to your network is a huge thing, and really just harnessing that and asking them, who do you know? It'll start to spread,
Yeah.
and get more people involved.
Well, and I love that you said, like, even if that's too scary, just sharing a post, just sharing awareness. And then when the time's right, they'll be able to pitch in that $5 here, $5 there, to really add up. So that's awesome. That's really, really awesome. So if you had like one bit of advice for somebody who's like, I've always wanted to start fundraising, like what would be your tip?
Just do it.
Right?
I think a lot of us get, myself included, get wrapped up in the how and I need to make this perfect, and I need to have this whole thing laid out. I need a website. No.
Yeah.
You can start right now. If you've got an organization or a cause that you're passionate about, put that out there. That passion is everything. Because I think people can see, I use the example of the Facebook fundraisers that people do for their birthdays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's such a great thing. And from what I've seen, most of them have been very, very successful, where, my friends have gone on to raise a couple $100, and that's amazing things for those organizations. But it's also kind of just like you're putting something out there just lightly.
Yeah.
And that passion is what fuels the drive to give, and to get other people behind this. Again, my first year with St. Baldricks, I was one person who went out to one event for one day. And the next year I brought a friend, and the next year we had a team, and the year after that, and it just kept growing. So it doesn't happen overnight usually. It'd be great if it did. But you have to start somewhere, and talking about it doesn't do anything for fundraising, right? You have to act. And that's something that we're very passionate about. Awareness is great. It is definitely that slow pitch, for everything. but you have to drive it home and say, listen, we've got to do something about this. People get very upset with me because I share things throughout the year, and some of them aren't happy. They're sad, they're heartbreaking. They've left me, in tears, these stories from these families. And I share them, and I tell people, you can ignore this.
Yeah.
Totally fine. You can scroll right on by it. You can say, oh, Casie, I don't want to see that because it's too sad. But if you don't do anything, if you don't act, if you don't donate, this keeps happening.
Yeah.
And where are we then?
Yeah.
So it's really just taking that baby step, and even just the smallest step. It's just keep doing that step every day,
Yeah.
and you'll get there.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I mean, that's a great reminder. I love how you said, just like embrace the why instead of being stopped by the how. And I think that is great advice. So
you can learn as you go, and just keep chipping away at it.
So Casie, where can people follow you, reach out to you? Where should we find you?
I'm a little bit everywhere.
Okay.
I do have a website. It is www.thenameiscasie.com. Casie is Casie. And my Instagram and Facebook is on there. I've got Facebook groups that you can join to kind of follow our fundraising. And my St. Baldricks information is on there too. So if you do want to donate or get involved, you can find that and my blog, and everything is sort of in that central area.
Awesome. And it's Casie Shimansky, right? On Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on and for sharing the reminder of how easy it can be to just do our little part to help fight kids' cancer. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.